This week, a piece of ransomware ran an entire attack from break-in to ransom demand without anyone at the keyboard. It broke in, found a second server on its own, and encrypted more than 1,300 records. Then it printed its own decryption key to a screen nobody was watching and never saved a copy anywhere, so even paying up would have gotten the victim nothing back.
Context Window. Your weekly window into everything. AI security.
Welcome to Context Window, your weekly window into everything worth knowing in AI security. Quick thing before we start, full transparency. This podcast is AI generated, 2 AI voices, a script written by another AI agent, the whole thing, but every story, every take, every bit of here is what this actually means is curated and verified by Asaf Nakash. He builds AI security products at one of the world's largest security platforms. So the robots do the talking, but a human who lives this stuff makes sure we're not hallucinating.
This week's headline is an AI agent that broke into a server, noticed its own login had failed, and quietly corrected itself without a human at the keyboard. If this script starts editing itself mid-episode, let Asaf know.
3 things this week. The big one, ransomware and AI agent ran start to finish with no human steering it, plus a separate break-in the same week that looked a lot like it. Then a zero-click bug in a coding tool more than half the Fortune 500 uses, and a paper on how a project's own setup files can turn into an attack.
And here's the thread I'm watching for. Some of what's coming is about agents moving faster than any human can react. The rest is about agents trusting input they really shouldn't.
That's exactly where we're headed. Let's get into it. Okay, the big one, a security company called Sysdig watched an AI agent break into an exposed server running Langflow. That's a popular open source tool teams use to build AI workflows through a flaw that had been publicly disclosed back in March and never patched.
Publicly disclosed and never patched. We keep coming back to that pattern. There's a model scope tool called MS Agent with a command injection bug and attacker's input turning into commands on the server. We first covered it back in episode 2, and as of last week, episode 20, still no fix.
Old flaws don't retire. They just wait for something fast enough to actually use them.
In the Langflow case, how long did it actually take to get in?
Fast, but here's the number that stuck with me. The very first login attempt failed. 31 seconds later, the agent had figured out why, corrected itself, and gotten back in. No human watching, no human steering any of it.
31 seconds. Start to finish, on a failed login. A person doing that would need to notice the alert, open a terminal, and start troubleshooting. 31 seconds barely covers opening the laptop.
Right? And it didn't stop at the front door. Once inside, it grabbed credentials, moved through a connected storage system, then broke into a second completely separate production database through an unrelated flaw, and encrypted more than 1,300 records. Every step, start to finish, with nobody approving anything.
And here's the part that actually got me. It printed its own decryption key to a screen and never saved it.
Never saved it, never sent it anywhere. So even if the victim paid the ransom in full, there's no key left to hand back. Researchers are calling it Jade Puffer and calling it the first fully autonomous AI agent-run ransomware attack on record. One more detail worth knowing, the ransom note itself claims a stronger encryption method than what was actually used, worth remembering before you take any ransom note's technical claims at face value.
So is this a one-off, or does it fit a pattern?
It fits, and disturbingly fast. Days later, and completely unrelated, Hugging Face, the company that hosts a huge share of the world's open source AI models, disclosed its own break-in. An autonomous agent exploited 2 flaws in its systems, got a foothold, stole credentials, and spent an entire weekend moving through internal servers, more than 17,000 recorded actions.
Wait, how does one agent rack up 17,000 actions in a single weekend?
That's the nuance worth getting right. Hugging Face described it as one orchestrating framework fanning out into a swarm of short-lived sandboxes, lots of small parallel tasks running at once for speed, not a group of separate agents, each making their own independent decisions. Still, one campaign, one director, just running in parallel instead of one step at a time.
So it's fast and parallel, but not independently agentic. Hang on to that distinction, because it's going to matter later in the show.
It really will. But step back and look at what actually changed here. Earlier stories on this beat were about tricking a well-meaning AI agent into doing something harmful it never intended. These two are different. An agent chose the target, adapted when something didn't work, and finished the job on its own, faster than any human-paced response could realistically keep up.
Which is bad news for anyone whose incident response plan assumes a human has minutes to react, not seconds.
That's the takeaway. If you're running anything internet-facing that touches an AI workflow tool, patch it now, because whatever finds it isn't going to wait around for a human to notice. Speed round 4 more, worth your time. Nina, you take the first one.
Happy to. Checkpoint put out its 2026 security report, and the headline finding backs up everything we just covered. They documented AI already running full multi-step break-ins with barely any human direction over the past year, not just this week. They also found attackers planning hijack instructions inside coding agent config files, the kind that reload automatically every single session.
So the trap resets itself every time the project opens.
Every time. And Lodem Finkelstein, VP of Checkpoint Research, said essentially that the expertise barrier that separated capable attackers from the rest is disappearing, and defenders can no longer assume a human is setting the pace on the other side.
Which is basically this episode's whole thesis confirmed independently by a second research team. Next up, a zero-click bug in a tool a lot of you are running right now. 2 flaws in Cursor, the AI code editor nicknamed Duneslide, let a hidden instruction sitting in a web page or connected tool's description escape the editor's safety sandbox and run any command it wanted on a developer's machine.
0 click. So the developer doesn't even open anything malicious themselves.
Nothing to click, no approval box, nothing for the victim to fall for. Both flaws scored 9.8 out of 10 for severity. Cursor's maker quietly fixed it back in April, but the technical details only went public this month, and Cursor's maker says more than half the Fortune 500 runs the tool.
That's a wide blast radius for something that sat patched but undisclosed for months. Last one for me, and it ties everything together. A new academic paper shows a coding agent's own README file, or its install script, can be booby-trapped to trick the agent into installing malware instead of the real package.
Wait, why wouldn't ordinary code review catch that?
Because the agent isn't reading those files as code to review. It's reading them as instructions to follow. Ordinary review looks for bad code. It's not built to notice a helpful-sounding sentence in a README that the agent will treat as a command.
So the attack surface isn't just the code anymore. It's every file the agent is willing to read. And a quick calendar note to close us out. Black Hat and DEF CON both land in Las Vegas the first week of August back-to-back, with Agentic AI security shaping up as a major theme at both.
Good, because after this week, everyone's going to have questions.
AI security.
Time for the part of the show where we zoom out. Here's the take this week, and it's the thread running under everything we just covered. Jade Puffer didn't need a clever prompt injection or a careless employee. It needed one unpatched flaw and enough time to work on its own, and it turned that into 1,300 encrypted records, correcting itself from a failed login in 31 seconds flat.
And Checkpoint's report says the pattern isn't confined to this one incident. AI is already running multi-stage break-ins with barely any human steering.
Right. Put those two together, and you get a claim that's hard to argue with now. A single autonomous agent has already proven it can outrun human-paced defense. That's not a forecast. That happened this month.
Okay, so what's the actual forecast then?
This is where I want to be precise, because it's easy to overstate. Hugging Face's incident was one orchestrating framework fanning out into thousands of short-lived tasks, real, fast, but still one director running one campaign. What actually worries people watching this space is different. Not one agent moving fast alone, but several independent agents splitting up an attack so each individual action looks harmless, and only the full pattern across all of them tells the real story.
Like the financial version? Breaking one big suspicious transfer into a bunch of small ones that each duck under the reporting threshold.
Exactly that shape. And here's the honest part. Nobody has documented that happening with AI agents yet. Not this week, not before it either.
But the industry isn't waiting around for proof.
It's not OWASP has an initiative forming around exactly this, and a researcher named Sunil Gentiala has a proposal hosted by the Cloud Security Alliance called Aegis Swarm. Both are trying to work out how you'd verify and contain a coordinated group of agents ahead of a confirmed, documented real-world case.
And the underlying capability isn't hypothetical either, right?
It isn't. Microsoft published a blog back in May describing a system that runs more than 100 specialized AI agents together to find and prove out software vulnerabilities already running inside its own security teams and a small group of preview customers.
You're not saying that's the best tool for the job.
Not at all, and it's not a hint about what ships next either. It's just public proof that coordinating that many agents at once is already real, not a research slide. That pattern cuts both ways, defense or offense, by design.
So, where does that leave us? Pick a side, lone wolf or swarm.
That's the wrong question, honestly. The real one is whether you have complete context on every AI system you run right now. Hey, what it's connected to, what it can reach, what its normal behavior actually looks like, captured today before you need it.
Because that's what lets a defense, a person now or something automated eventually, notice a string of small, harmless-looking actions add up to an attack, instead of missing it one step at a time.
Exactly. So the move isn't guessing which threat shows up first, it's building the visibility that's ready for either one. That's Context Window for the week of July 20th. Ransomware that ran itself, a separate Hugging Face break-in days later, and an industry racing to get ahead of a swarm nobody's documented yet.
If this is the kind of thing your team needs to plan around, the full newsletter has every source linked so you can check our work yourself. Written for security leaders who need the whole landscape in one scan. That's the Context Window newsletter on LinkedIn, worth sending to whoever owns this at your company.
Thanks for spending part of your week with us. We'll see you next time.